Give everybody a sec to get in. There we go. All right. How's everybody's Monday? How's the week going? Turn that off. There we go. All right. Good Monday. What's happening? Jay Willow, what's going on? Brock, what's going on? How are you? Good Monday so far? I'm tired today. So this was a long weekend. We went to, we did a little weekend at Lake Nacimiento, which is like central, that's not even, I guess it's not technically central, California, right above Paso Robles. And it was fun. It was super fun. But like in the sun all day long, like I'm fried now. I had to push through. But it was good. F Money, go skateboarders. This is from Bruno. F Money. Look, I hear you in one regard. Like that's something that we used to talk about a lot when we used to skate, which is like don't do it for the money. Or like anytime you're driven by money, it seems to what would you say? Lead to a crappy experience. But not messing with money at all, like abandoning even trying to make it or manage it correctly, I don't know. That's a situation I don't want to be in, you know? But I think that depends on age. Like, I don't know how old you are. For me, when I was, super young, I didn't care about it at all. And then as you get older, and especially when responsibilities add up, the importance of managing it correctly is huge. But where I do agree, if I'm where's that noise? Is that my phone? Weird. If I'm kind of looking into it and saying like, don't do it about the money, I agree with you there. Do you have a collection of your old DC shoes? Arto, I have all my original DVS shoes, and I think I have one pair of my DC shoes, but I didn't keep all of them. No. Bubba, all I care about now is figuring out how to buy land and comfortably die on. Buying the land is actually that's not the hard part. It's making it to have enough to actually buy it, right? Fly me to the spot from Captain. You know what? I got a pretty cool thing happening. I spoke at a conference called Limitless, which is like a massive real estate conference. And one thing they do is for all the speakers that were there, they would basically auction a day with them. So somebody, there are multiple people that bid to spend the day with me. Somebody won. And so they're flying out on the 7th to spend the day with me. And so I'm planning it now. I think what we're going to do, let me know if this sounds fun because I'm halfway locked in. We're going to go golf in the morning. I asked him if he golfed. He did. So we're going to go golf at a country club by me. Then we're going to go check out some properties of ours in Ventura. Then we're going to go get lunch. Then we're going to come to the office. I'm going to film like a whole day with him, like a day in the lifestyle. So, we'll hang out at the office for a little bit, maybe do a little interview on him, talk shop. Then we're going to go grab dinner. Then we're going to go over to P-Rod's park. And I don't know if he skates, but we're going to go to the park. He's got a ton of stuff there. And we usually hang out every once in a while, smoke cigars, just kind of talk business. So we're going to finish at his park. I don't know. Anything I need to add to that day? If you were to come hang out with me, is there anything else you'd want to do? Money isn't happiness. Money is freedom. Mike Wallace, that's 100% right. Money, we sometimes do ourselves a disservice by making money out to be way more than it is. Really, all it is, you could say it's options. I like to say it's choices or freedom. Like it just gives you more options to choose from. And it can free up your time. I think that's the big one. Are you making a skate spot in front of one of your buildings? Not yet. We're not doing that yet. Soon. I helped build P-Rod's first facility. I used to go to that facility all the time. That was such a fun park. Is the Limitless conference from the Muscle? No, that's a different one. That one I think him and Dan Fleischman are doing. So Limitless is a conference from Ken McElroy. Ken McElroy is a really big real estate investor. I don't know if this is actually accurate, but from what I believe, he was the one that was doing all the real estate for Robert Kiyosaki. He holds a big conference every year. It's massive, 5,000 people or something like that. So that's the one I was referring to. How's the family? The family's we're on the mend. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. We've had such a crazy year and a half. It was a wild one. Basically, starting off last year, my wife got pregnant. We're all of our kids have been planned. Actually, you know what? I'm a little bit off. Give me 1 second. I'm a little bit off center for Insta. Let me see if that helped or if it made it worse. There's a little bit of a lag on Insta. All right, that made it better. So we've planned all of our kids, right? And we've had an easy time getting pregnant. For the first two, it was first try. With Elliot, it took 2 tries. With Vivian, it took 2 tries. So basically, every kid was like scheduled and landed pretty much on target. So she gets pregnant last year, and it was technically the year before, but she's pregnant all of last year. And in March, I started basically floating the idea of running for city council, right? So knowing that we were going to have a baby in the middle of it, Jen basically had the final say. I was like, babe, we've been talking about this. This is the year if I'm going to do it. There are, 2 seats open. 3 total, but there was incumbents. What do you think? Should I do, I'm not going to talk you into it. This is why I want to do it. We've been talking about for a while. Should I do it? And she goes, man, the timing's awful, but yeah, I get it. Yes, you should do it. So I ran a campaign, and I had no clue what to expect. I don't think she did either. All I knew is I was going to treat it like a startup. It was so much more demanding than I thought. And it was actually pretty fun because it felt like entrepreneurship on high octane. You had to do so much in such little time, and you had no revenue. You had to do the whole thing through donations, either from, people donating money so that you had money to basically hire or, buy all your marketing material, or people just donating time. So it was kind of fun having to figure that out. But nonetheless, it was crazy. I was going into the office from 8 to 1 or so, and then I would leave the office, start walking neighborhoods every single day for 3 hours, knocking on doors. Hey, I'm Mikey Taylor. I'm ready for city council. Then that night, there'd typically be a meet and greet at somebody's house where they'd invite, I think it was 6 to 15 couples, and then I'd give kind of my, pitch and then answer questions. That was for 6 months. So when Jen had the baby, we had the baby over the weekend, I believe. 2 days later, I'm back knocking doors. It was so crazy. It was just that's what it was. We had Vivian on Saturday. Mine and Jen's anniversary was on Sunday. We basically skipped that. I went right back into work in the campaign. Jen's birthday was 3 weeks later. We basically skipped Jen's birthday. My 40th was 2 weeks after that. We basically skipped my birthday. We just skipped everything. And right when I got elected, basically I had to get used to a real second job, because with Commune, I had to go back into, I get into the office usually around 7. So 7 to 5 is usually my window. Well, now I had a side hustle on top of that. So we had 3 months of adjusting. Right when we adjust, the black mold issue hits. So we're out of our house. And leading up to that, what I didn't mention was Jen and the kids were sick for months, 7 months. Everybody was getting sick every week. We had no clue why. Kids have rashes all over their bodies, won't go away. It was awful. So that happens. We have to get out of the house. We're floating back and forth in Airbnbs. It was just miserable. It was maybe one of the worst experiences my wife and I have ever gone through while being married with kids. It was brutal. Then we finally get into a place. We got into a place I think 6 weeks ago. And we finally are breathing again. Like, all of our stuff was ruined. That was actually brutal. We had to walk away from everything. All of our furniture, couches, beds, clothes, just everything. It sucked. So we had to refurnish a whole new house, which was not cheap. This was an expensive year. And so we're not all the way there. We still have a couple things to do, but we're like breathing again. Like it feels like the last month, like we're getting caught up. We're actually sleeping again. Like life is kind of on the rebound. But what I'll say is this is the cool part. As brutal as this last year was, like it was psycho, our marriage actually did pretty well through it. Like we didn't really get in a lot of fights, or there wasn't like, usually when we're going through like stressful times, like it's easy for us to be kind of at each other. It didn't happen at all. Like we actually, like our marriage, like really solid through this crappy time, which that was like a really fortunate part. And so all that to say, we went to Mexico 3 weeks ago, just her and I. It was our first trip without the kids. This weekend was at the lake. We're doing well. So life is good. That was a rant on just what's going on. This is a crazy year. So now with the business, what's crazy is we're stepping into like multiple capital raises now. We've got 2 funds that we're raising capital for. We're about to open our storage portfolio. This is a psycho time for real estate. It's basically all happening now. So we're going into just foot on the gas mode. So I think this is going to be a busy rest of the year. Next year might be really busy as well, but all good things. What about everybody else? How's everybody else's life? Mikey, much love from Minneapolis, and watched your Battle Commander for a little Monday motivation. That was one of the hardest parts I ever filmed. Just being stuck in that park and having everyone already basically destroy the place, that was not easy. Sam, Faster Freedom, my man, quality on point. Didn't know you could get more handsome. You are such a legend. I appreciate you. What else is going on? Any questions? Anything anybody's working on? Anything we can highlight? Let me. Oh shoot! What did I just do? Okay, there we go. Not sure what I just did. I'm gonna move this. All right, Brian, you need to add me to that date. You know what? I wonder if is that something I should do? Should I start doing like days, like Mikey days, except like somebody wins a day with me, and for the month they come out and we do like a full day. Like I'll just drop you into like my life and do like we'll film the whole thing. Is that something we should do? Should I get a Roth IRA? This is from Will. I like Roth IRAs. I'm a big fan of them. I think for your long-term goals and money that you're putting away for a long time, like, yeah, there's a lot of flexibility with them and all your gains are tax-free. That's a pretty awesome structure. It's just capped. That's the hard part about it. You can't put a lot of money into it. Do you think running a campaign helped you be better? Do you think running a campaign helped you be a better and overall business person? That's a good question. Yeah, I actually think it did. It's one thing when you're hiring people to work for you. Like here's your skill. It's worth a certain amount of dollars. I'm willing to pay for that. And then basically you build out your team. When you don't have money to pay and it's basically just people donating time, yeah, you have to get a lot better at your communication, the experience, the purpose, all of that. So I think on that end, I got better at maybe leadership skills. And then I think just being on city council, like it's a servant role. Like, you're hearing the needs of people around you, and you're not just like the whatever you want to call it, big dog calling the shots. Like in this case, the community's calling the shots. And so I think on that note, I think that's helping as well. Just, I don't know, but I'm a big believer in the servant style of leadership though. So I think I'm getting better at that. or I'd hope to be. How long you been doing real estate? Good question. So I've been investing in real estate for almost 20 years, about 18 years. I started in basically storage, and my first investments into real estate from an equity standpoint, specifically commercial, was storage. And then I started lending on commercial assets. So I was on the debt side and equity side. And then I started our current business, Commune Capital. I started working on it at the beginning of 2017, and then we launched it in 2018. So this company's been here almost 6 years. All right. Best way to educate yourself on finances. My model was reading books. I listened to a lot of podcasts. And then I had an advisor, actually. Like, that one was huge for me. My mom basically panicked when I told her I wasn't going to go to college. And she really wanted me to basically get help financially, have like a financial advisor come into the business, or into my life. And he just happened to be kind of equally as much a mentor as he was an advisor. Like, not all advisors, but a lot of advisors out there. They basically just manage your money. They rebalance your portfolio. It's stocks and bonds, and you don't know what they're doing. They're just, I got you. He wasn't like that. He was like with me at 19 years old, teaching me about credit, teaching me how to create a budget, how to pick the right investments for my plan. He was the first one that basically asked me what my financial freedom number was. I had no clue what that was prior. And so what helped is having somebody go, what's your financial freedom number? I think at that point I said, how much did I tell him? $3 million, I think is what I said. And he's like, all right, when do you want that to happen? And I was like, I don't know, when my career ends. And so it was cool to have somebody go, okay, here's the number. Here's the time in which you're trying to get there. Now, how do we do it? And knowing where we were headed, it was a lot easier to actually find the best path to that point. Without that, I would have just been taking stabs in the dark. So that was huge for me. But I think reading, I think podcasts are great. And then there's a lot of courses you could take online that are huge. And then anytime you can get somebody around you, I think that's really valuable. What would be your best advice for saving money and building your wealth to buy a starter home? Okay, this is from Gnarly Biller. In my perspective, there's only one way to save money. I have never been able to find, I have never found a better way than this. It's called pay yourself first. It's basically what most of us do. Where we do it wrong is we have a goal that we want to save money. And so we try to limit our spending throughout the month, and whatever's left over, that goes into savings. And what happens? Every single month, we're out of money. We spend it all. And so what I found is paying yourself first, which means you automatically withdraw a certain percentage out of every check you get, and it goes straight into a separate account. And it's the first thing that happens right when that check lands. So let's call it 20%, right? You get your check, automatic withdrawal, 20% goes into a different account. And then you pay all your bills after that. That is the best way to save. Why? I don't think, well, I would say there's a couple things here. One, if you put your bills second, it's basically you're prioritizing your future first, and then you're putting yourself in a position where you have to potentially cut expenses to pull it off. Because if you don't have enough money at the end of the month, you're no longer losing out on your savings. You're losing out on bills you have to pay. And that is typically the only thing that's going to cause us to actually change our behavior is when our back's against the wall and we actually have to. And so, one of the major pushbacks you get on pay yourself first is I'm spending all the money I make right now. Like, if I pay myself first, I'm not gonna be able to pay my bills. And this kind of goes back to the forced discipline. Well, if you have to pay your bills and you don't have enough money to do it, that's typically going to be a force to go into our wants section and actually cut back on our expenses. Eating out's going down, travel's going down. Basically, if you're buying, I don't know, what's a relevant brand right now? Is Off-White relevant? If you're buying Off-White, you're no longer buying Off-White. It's Chucks and a white tee. right? You got to cut those back. Now, if you're basically spending everything you make and what you're spending it on are the necessities, they're the have-tos, right? The rent or mortgage or transportation or insurance, and you have no money after that, the good thing about this model, the pay yourself first, is you got to go get another job. You've got to go get a side hustle or a second job. And it kind of goes back to that forced discipline. We're not going to go get a second job just to save money. Like we just don't. But we will go get a second job, so that we don't get our car impounded. And so what that does, it's a forced savings account. And then before you know it, you have money to do things. So I've found that to be the only way to do it. Now, if you brought up buying a starter home. If your goal is to buy a starter home, and let's say your goal is to save up money over the next 3 or 4 years to do so, do not invest that money. That money is for the short term. So you want to keep that money in like a high yield savings account. Don't put it at risk. It's okay if, inflation eats at it. It doesn't matter because the purpose of that money is for your home, and you don't want to need that money, let's say 5 years from now, and there's been a downturn, a full correction in the market, and you're now having to realize your losses by pulling it out. You want to avoid that. You know what I've been seeing a lot of people do? Fabio, I'll answer this in 1 second. You know what I've been seeing a lot of people do, which actually I think is kind of sick? They're selling everything and they're getting an RV and they're living, basically traveling, the nation in an RV to save money for a house. I've seen multiple people do that. I think that's actually sick. Now, if you've got kids at school, yeah, that's going to be a little bit difficult. If you're homeschooling, I think you could pull it. If you're trying to do this before you have kids, especially if you have a job that, you could work remote, I think that's actually like a cool thing to do. I think it'd be a rad experience. Fabio, yeah, I do still talk to my advisor. I talk to him all the time. We actually have a pretty cool story. So he would walk me, actually, let me just, okay. So, he was a little bit different than most advisors. Not only did he help me build out a solid plan, but when I started getting into looking at when I was skating, looking at the skate industry, or at least what I was doing there as a business, he was huge for that. And then when we started St. Archer, myself, Josh, Paul, we didn't really have any business experience. So he came in, helped us build our business plan. We had to go raise money. He helped basically teach us how to raise money and was really influential in us starting that business in the beginning. And that was huge for me. We ended up selling the business. When I had the idea to create Commune, I basically built out my whole business plan, right? At this point, I knew how to do business. I built out, I don't know, it was maybe a 12 or 13 page, it was a business plan, but it was almost like an investment deck, right? And I had one page that was basically empty. And at the top, it said fund management. And there was just a big question mark because I didn't know how fund management worked. Randy, who was my advisor, his brother ran a private equity firm. So all of the investments I was doing in storage, in the lending side, that was with his brother, Jerry, who was actively managing it. And I hit up Randy. I was like, Randy, I need to know how to do this. So he took a meeting with me and, he went over my whole business plan and he got to this page. And I was like, Randy, I need you to do what you did for me with St. Archer here. How does this work? What are all the things I need to know? And who do I need to go hire to help me build this out? And it was actually him that said, let me think about this one. I think there might be an opportunity for us. And so the next week I met with him and his brother, and we ended up starting Commune together. And so he's one of my partners in my business, and his brother, we work actively. His brother's our CIO, and then I'm co-president with him. You've seen videos with Jerry before. That's his brother. So yeah, I talk to him all the time. We own a business together. It's been when did I meet him? I've known him over 20 years. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, crazy story, crazy world. Mikey, how do I balance happiness and not being able to backside lip slide? Okay, here you go. You ready? You have to set the goal that you're going to learn how to backside lip slide. That's the goal. And then stick to it. And what I've always found, I love the journey. Like anytime I set a goal and I hit the goal, it feels good for like a day. And then the next day it's over. Like the rush is gone. And what I've found is I love the process of trying to get there. So set the goal and start working on it every day. And before you know it, you're going to love the process of getting there. And then you're going to learn how to back lip. And then it's not going to be so exciting. And then you're going to have to set a new goal and do it over again. I need a good vessel or investment for my emergency fund so that it doesn't just sit there making little to no return. Any suggestions? Sancho, I just put in a high yield savings account. Like you can make almost like 5% right now. I would just put it in that. Real estate is really about relationships. It is, honestly, that's how business is as well. Like business is all about relationships. It really is. One of the most well-rounded pro skateboarders out there. Keep up the great work, dude. I appreciate you. You know what I was thinking about today? It's been 8 years since I was a pro skateboarder. It almost feels like it just happened last year. It's almost about to be a decade. Isn't that crazy? It's insane how fast time flies. David, so you don't skate anymore, not professionally. I skate for fun every once in a while, not that much. Unfortunately, it's just a kind of a time thing right now. Like I'm really limited on time. You know, a lot of that is just the life stage I'm at. You know, we have 4 kids, and so if I'm not working, I'm with them. And so if I go skate, basically something has to give. It's either less time with the kids, less time with my wife, or less time with the business. And we have a lot going on with the business. So I just don't really have time to give on commune side. And at least right now, I'm not really willing to give up time for the kids to go skate, at least right now. Hopefully my son gets into it and then that becomes an easy solution. We just go skate together. I get time with him or one of the girls. It's just they haven't gotten into it yet. I think that'd be cool. Boomers had it easier with business. Do you agree? Yes and no. I think, look, I think there has never been an easier time to make money than right now. I don't think there's ever been a time easier to start a business. I think this is a crazy window. I think, in some cases, boomers had it easier for sure. But I think in other cases, we have it easier. The ability to automate is crazy. But a lot's changed. Like, what boomers wanted, let me think of a better way to say it. We expect a lot more, right? Like a boomer would basically save up to buy a house. The house would be, 800 feet with like a bathroom outside of the house. Thing was completely run down, saved his whole life for that thing. Like, we want 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom in like a gated community with like a park right next door. And we only want to work a certain amount of hours to get it. We want Saturdays off, Sundays off. Like we want way more out of life than boomers did. So I think just, you have to factor that. But no, man, I think this is as far as business goes, I think this is the best time to start a business ever. And there's so much disruption happening in a good way. It's like everything with AI, everything with the gig economy, everything with legacy media. Like there are so many new windows to create. So no, I wouldn't. I think we have it better. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think boomers had it better? Start business? Is Vic in here? Vic's the man. Vic Blends. I love what he's doing. Is anybody watching Vic Blends? Talk about somebody doing it right, man. Gosh, inspiring others, meeting people, taking opportunity and just freaking going for it. Mikey, I need advice grinding. When is too much? And when should I push through fatigue? Good question. Okay, so depends on your age, but prior to your 30s, like in my perspective, like your 20s are meant for grinding. You put your head down, you can barely, come up for a breath. You're in the smoke, you go for it. That is a window for you to really step on the gas. When you start getting older, you kind of have to like pick your moments, in my perspective. I think there's going to be moments where you see opportunity and your life becomes unbalanced and you go for it. Then there's other times where you kind of get back to it. I'm in one of those moments right now. My head's down. Like I'm not balanced right now. Like my foot's on the gas. I'm probably going to be this way for the next 2 years. To answer your question, at what point is too long? I think, if you're in business, you have to ask yourself, if I've had my head down, I'm stepping on the gas and it's going nowhere, and it's been 8 years, maybe even 5 years, you may have some questions to ask. Like, are you doing things correctly? Like, are you building out a team? Are you delegating? Are you in an industry that's just too hard? Like, it is just too difficult for you to scale. You might have to answer those questions and maybe tweak some things. But, I guess for me, like if I was to answer your question in the scenario I'm in, if I'm in the moment I'm in right now, head down, stepping on the gas, trying to build this thing, capturing it 5 years from now and nothing changes, I'm doing something wrong. There's a flaw in my business model, or my ego is getting in the way of building. It's one of those two things. And so, I don't know. I would say put your head down for a year, come up, breathe, reassess, and then put it back down. No, maybe harder, more resources right now. Yeah, there are way more resources for sure. But you know what? There's you were looking at, I saw some study on how many millionaires how many new millionaires are going to be created this year and how many there were last year and the year before. It's happening at crazy numbers. This is a crazy time. Wow, this is cool. New style for your live. Yeah, you know what? I've got it. Been watching you since I was a kid, bro. Vic Blends, man. Look, you know what I'm going to say? This is probably one of my favorite things about what I do now is I'm in a world where, with real estate, I get connected with people in real estate, get connected with builders. I get connected with bankers. I get connected with investors. I get connected with architects. I get connected with people in marketing. I get connected with so many different industries. And the coolest part is basically connecting with people who used to skate. Or maybe they still do skate, but there are so many skaters that are crushing it now in so many different industries. That's my favorite part. Like meeting somebody and it's like, dude, I used to skate. I know exactly who you are. And now we're doing business together. And, I'm convinced that there's a quality to skateboarders, or maybe better put, skateboarding attracts a very obsessive personality. And in that, it creates a resilience that I'm not sure any other sport or maybe category creates, period. And then you add kind of the style element or the reality that skateboarding, it's not about the trick you do, it's about how you do it, right? Like you could do the same trick as the person next to you. That doesn't mean they're equal. And so, how you do your craft is very important. Just the fact that, skaters look at the world differently, right? You don't look at a 14 stair handrail as a means of, helping me walk up or down the stairs. We look at it as a rail to skate on. I think that is a skill set, if transferred over into a category outside of skateboarding, it makes it very hard for anyone else to compete with, in my perspective. I think it's difficult for pros to take that and move over. Sometimes it's difficult for people to take that skill and move it into a different category. But if you do, I think we're unstoppable. I really do. That TED Talk that Rodney Mullen did on skateboarders, and his ultimate outlook is we could change the world. I completely believe it. If we can take our skill set, move it over. Vic Blends, I think, is a perfect example of it. I think he's doing it right now, and I think he's just scratching the surface of what the next 20 years are going to look like for him. I'm excited to watch. And I think that's the case for all skaters, man. But what's hard, what I'll say, America has never been great. Oh, Make America Great Again. I think America is a pretty great place, personally. I love living here. I'm glad I was born here. That's my take. All right, I've got 10 more minutes. What else is going on, everyone? Any questions? Oh, here we go. I'm just waiting for my son to get to that age so he can start skating. Yeah, I'm with you, David. I'm in the same boat. He's 3. I'm trying to get him on it. I mean, he's a crazy one. Like I think he'll skate. So I'm looking forward to that. U.S. is the best country in the world. I believe so. I've been everywhere. That doesn't mean there's not places I like going, but I mean, I'd rather be here than anywhere, especially if you're building a business. All right, what else is going on? Anybody have anybody do anything fun over the weekend? Any highlights? I know you as a real estate investor, financial advisor, not as a skater. Yeah, you know what's so funny about that? It's split now. Like I had such a, when I stopped skating, I think Instagram, Facebook were my biggest platforms. Instagram was maybe 500,000 followers when I stopped. And then Facebook, I think, was the same. Those are my biggest. And when I started shifting over to business and then talking about money and investing, I was losing followers like crazy. I think on Instagram, I burned probably 200,000 followers from talking about money. But then I started growing. TikTok is really like where this thing started booming. Like, I started on TikTok, no talking about skating. It was just what I'm doing now. And I got to like almost 700,000 followers on TikTok, and nobody knew I was a skater. And then my Instagram started building again because basically TikTok and the discovery element of it put competition on everyone else. So then Instagram had to create reels. Same with Facebook. YouTube had to do shorts. And now all of a sudden, Instagram was putting my content out to a new audience, and then I started growing. And so I'd probably say right now on Instagram, maybe it's 50-50. Or I would say there's a lot of people that follow me that have no clue I was a skater. I have probably a pretty decent size amount of skaters that are actually here for it. And then I still have a lot of skaters that I think either aren't seeing my content or are like hoping I like drop the ball, pivot, and go back to skating. But I think the number on this side is starting to get honestly much larger. So yeah, it's interesting. Do you still post on Facebook? Haven't been there in years. Not really. I started a little bit over the last 3 months because I was in Florida. I went out and saw Patrick Bet-David, and then I went and saw a handful of other people. I was on this like yacht one day, right? I don't even do yachts, but I'm on this yacht. And some guy's there who's like a big influencer. And, he's like asking me like if I do social media. I'm like, yeah, I got like all the platforms. And he was like, dude, have you been monetizing your reels on Facebook? And I was like, Facebook? Like, I haven't used Facebook in probably a decade. And he goes, really? And he's like, how many followers do you have? I'm like, I don't know. I pull it up. I have to search for my credentials. I find him. I log in. I'm like, oh, damn, I got 500,000 followers still. He loses it, right? He's like, dude, you need to be posting on your reels. He's like, I'm making 20, 30K a month just posting on my reels. I have a fraction of the follow. He had 100,000 followers. He's like, you need to be posting. You can make so much money. And so I'm like, okay, bet. But you had to hit like certain metrics to qualify, right? So I had to do, I posted for like 3 weeks to get to whatever it was, 500,000 views and all the metrics. Hit it, get my monetization opened up. All of a sudden, right when it's greenlit, I get a warning saying I can't monetize my Facebook because elected officials can't monetize their platforms, I guess. Or maybe this is specifically to Instagram. And I got sworn in January, and they basically knew right away. So I use Facebook to try to monetize it, and then I can't make money on Facebook. So that's what happened. I really appreciate the weekly Monday message. Short, sweet, and always insightful. Mendigo, I appreciate that. That's something that, it's funny. Usually I'm talking to myself, actually. Like, it's usually something that I need to hear or something that like I'm struggling with or just thinking about. And so I just figured, you know what? Let's put it out there to everybody who's following me on the text stream, and hopefully it helps. So I'm glad that that's helping you. I know it's weird that it's me doing it, but it actually helps me as well. It kind of forces me to think about it, write it, and then send it. How did you keep the faith in your choice when people were unfollowing you? Oh, it was hard. That was reinventing yourself is really difficult. It's especially difficult when you have people following you. That one was like, it wasn't just people unfollowing me. It was people unfollowing me and then comments, "You suck." Like, stop talking about this. Go back to skateboarding. It was just comment after comment after comment. I remember I saw Drama like a year after. I saw Drama like 2019. And he goes, "Dude, I mean this in the nicest way possible. I have never seen somebody get punched in the face over and over and over and keep walking forward." Like, it was brutal. It wasn't easy, but basically I was so focused on where I was going. And, one thing I kept telling myself was, it's only a matter of time until the vision that I have or the vision of where I'm headed becomes my reality, right? The future becomes current. And so I just kept focusing on that. Like, I won't be known as solely a pro skateboarder anymore. Like, there will be a point where I will be known as an entrepreneur, a business builder who was a pro skateboarder. And so I think I was just focusing on that vision over and over, and I wasn't willing to allow anyone to stop me in that process, And I think a lot of that actually came from skateboarding. It's like, think about what we have to go through as skaters to accomplish something. Like, there were times where I'd have to go back to a spot 6 or 7 times. It'd be a 3-hour session of just destroying myself to get it. Like, I think that energy really creates a resilience and a discipline in us to basically go through those hard times. And so that one just took longer. That took 3 years, but I think it was just constantly reminding myself and not being willing to let go of the vision that I had, in which I thought was accomplishable. "Hey, Mikey, can you be my financial advisor? I make bad decisions and ADHD makes it impossible to think clearly when it comes to finance." Dane is one of my favorite people on this planet. I love you, Dane. I miss you. Come hang out with me. Let's come. Look, this is what we're going to do. You come out here. We're going to go skate. We'll go skate P-Rods Park. And then let's get you lined up, my man. Like, let's get it all automated. Like, look, this is the reality of finances. You don't have to manage your money yourself. Like, you don't have to. Like, when I was younger, even though I had somebody who was helping me, like, teach me about credit, teach me about budgeting, there was a window where, like, I didn't know what I was doing. He was doing it. I just had to stick to my discipline. So for skaters, like, if you can build, or you can have somebody build out the plan and you just have to stick to the mission, right? Saving 20%. It's automated. Can't spend this much. This is where the investments are going. You can do really well, especially knowing how disciplined skaters actually are. So yeah, I'll come up. I want to buy a new Harley Davidson. I used to tell Cole this when Cole started getting into bikes. Just be careful, my G. Just be careful. I used to ride bikes. I wasn't riding Harleys. I was like into like street bikes for a second. Remember when Jeremy Rogers bought a street bike, and then everybody was like, he's going to be dead in 3 weeks, and somebody stole it, and they stole his bike before his insurance was lined up, so he had to make payments on the bike for years after. It's so brutal. That was probably the best thing that ever could have happened to him. My brother got in a gnarly accident. Gnarly accident. He had a street bike for a while. Car pulled in front of him. It's usually what happens. Flipped over it. Broke everything. He was in a coma for a month. Like, it was a gnarly one. So I say this in a loving way. Just be careful, my G. Jeremy Rogers, how's he doing nowadays? I don't know how he's doing, actually. That's a good question. I'm not sure. All right, I've got to take off. Jen's going to go to a concert tonight in Ventura. I've got all 4 kids. I got to go do dinner, do the thing. Tomorrow night, I don't think I have anything tomorrow. You guys want to do a live tomorrow? I'll jump on. Have a phenomenal Monday. Have a great